The arrow had come from nowhere, piercing through Barrett's shoulder as he stumbled through the darkening forest. And now blood soaked his torn shirt while his vision blurred with each lurching step forward. He had been running for 3 days since the bandits attacked the merchant caravan, had watched good men die, had barely escaped with his life, and now his strength was finally giving out. The world tilted sideways as his knees buckled, and he crashed into the underbrush beside what looked like a narrow game trail. Consciousness came and went in waves. Somewhere in the haze of pain, he felt himself being lifted, carried with surprising gentleness despite the strength in the arms that held him. He tried to open his eyes but managed only a glimpse of green skin and dark hair before darkness claimed him again. When finally woke, it was to the smell of herbs and wood smoke. His shoulder throbbed with a deep ache, but the sharp agony had dulled to something manageable. He lay on a pallet of furs in what appeared to be a small cabin, rough-hewn but sturdy, with morning light filtering through gaps in the shuttered window. Someone had removed his ruined shirt and bandaged his wound with clean linen strips. He sat up slowly, testing his range of motion, and that was when he saw her. She stood by the hearth with her back to him, stirring something in an iron pot. She was tall, easily matching his own height, with broad shoulders and powerful arms revealed by her sleeveless tunic. Her skin was a deep forest green, and her black hair hung in a thick braid down her back. When she turned at the sound of his movement, he saw her face clearly for the first time. She was beautiful in a way that startled him. Strong features, high cheekbones, and amber eyes that watched him with cautious wariness. Small tusks curved up from her lower jaw, white against her green skin, and her pointed ears twitched slightly as she assessed him. "You are awake," she said, her voice low and measured. "Do not move too quickly. The arrow went deep." Stared at her, his mind struggling to reconcile what he was seeing with everything he had been taught about orcs. They were monsters, his father had always said. Savage raiders who burned villages and killed without mercy. Yet this woman had saved his life, tended his wounds, brought him to shelter. "You pulled me from the forest," he said, his voice rough with disuse. "I found you bleeding on my land," she replied, turning back to her pot. "I could not leave you to die." "Why not?" The question came out before he could stop it, blunt and ungracious. She was silent for a long moment, her shoulders tensing. When she spoke again, her words were careful, as if she had considered and discarded several responses. "Because I have seen enough death. Eat this when you are ready." She ladled thick stew into a wooden bowl and set it on the small table near his pallet, then moved toward the door. "I will check your snares. Rest." Before he could thank her or ask her name, she was gone, the door closing firmly behind her. Sat in the quiet cabin, trying to make sense of his situation. He was alive because an orc woman had chosen mercy over indifference. The thought unsettled everything he thought he knew about the world. The stew was rich with meat and root vegetables, better than anything he had eaten on the road. He finished the bowl and felt strength returning to his limbs. His shoulder still hurt, but the bandages were clean and expertly tied. She had treated him with skill and care. When she returned an hour later, she carried 3 rabbits slung over her shoulder. She stopped in the doorway when she saw him standing, testing his balance against the table. "You should not be up," she said, moving past him to hang the rabbits from a hook near the hearth. "I have been lying down for too long," replied. "What is your name? You saved my life. The least I can do is know who to thank." She kept her back to him as she worked, skinning the first rabbit with practiced efficiency. "Wren Forge." "Wren," he repeated, finding he liked the sound of it. "I am Barrett. I was a guard for a merchant caravan heading north. We were attacked 4 days ago. I ran." Survival is not cowardice, Wren said, still not looking at him. How many were there? A dozen, maybe more. They came at dawn. Most of the guards went down in the first volley. I grabbed what I could and fled into the trees. The memory brought shame, hot and bitter. I should have stayed and fought. Then you would be dead. She moved to the second rabbit, her movements quick and sure. You are alive. That is what matters. Liam watched her work, fascinated despite himself by the contradiction she represented. She wore leather trousers and a simple tunic, both well-made but worn. The cabin was neat and organized, tools hanging on pegs, dried herbs bundled from the rafters. This was not the den of a savage. This was a home. How long have you lived here? He asked. 5 years. Alone, her hands stilled for just a moment before continuing their work. Yes. There was a story there Liam could tell, but he did not press. Instead, he moved carefully around the small space, testing his strength. His legs felt weak but stable. The cabin was larger than it had first appeared, with a loft accessible by a ladder in the corner and a root cellar door set into the floor. Where is here exactly? He asked. I lost my bearings in the forest. The borderlands. 20 miles south of Thornmere, if you know it. Liam did know it. Thornmere was a human settlement, insular and suspicious of outsiders. If they discovered an orc living this close, they would come with torches and weapons. Do they know you are here? No. She finished with the rabbits and finally turned to face him, her amber eyes meeting his directly. And they will not find out. It was not a question. Liam understood the implicit threat, though he saw no malice in her expression, only firm resolve. I have no intention of betraying you, he said. You saved my life. I owe you a debt. You owe me nothing. When you are healed, you will leave. That is all. She moved past him to check his bandages, her touch careful but impersonal as she unwrapped the linen. The wound was clean, the flesh pink around the edges where it had begun to knit together. She applied fresh salve that smelled of calendula and comfrey, then rewrapped it with clean cloth. You are a skilled healer, Liam said, watching her work. I learned from necessity, she replied, tying off the bandage. You will have a scar, but the arm will heal fully if you do not strain it for the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Liam frowned. I should not impose on you that long. The wound says otherwise. If you tear it open again, infection will set in. You will die. She stepped back, assessing him with a clinical eye. You can make yourself useful if you must move. The wood needs splitting. Over the following days, they fell into a cautious routine. Liam split wood one-handed, learning to work with his injury rather than against it. Wren checked her snares and tended a small vegetable garden behind the cabin. They spoke little at first, circling each other like wary animals, neither quite certain what to make of their situation. But slowly, inevitably, conversation began to flow. How did you find this place? Liam asked one evening as they ate dinner at the small table. Wren was quiet for a moment, her gaze fixed on her bowl. I was cast out from my clan. I wandered until I found land no one else wanted. Cast out. Why? Her jaw tightened and he saw the muscles work around her tusks. I refused to raid a human village. There were children there. I said we should not slaughter children for the sake of pride and plunder. She looked up at him then, her eyes hard. My clan disagreed. They said I had gone soft, that I had forgotten what it meant to be orc, so they drove me out. Liam felt something shift in his chest, an understanding clicking into place. You chose mercy over your own people. I chose not to become a monster, Wren said quietly. There is a difference. Not all humans see it that way. I know. She returned to her meal, signaling the end of the conversation, but Liam found himself wanting to know more. Over the next few days, he asked careful questions, learning about her in pieces. She had been a warrior once, trained in the ways of her clan. She was 32 years old, had never known her father, and her mother had died in a border skirmish when Wren was 16. She liked the quiet of the forest, the way the seasons turned without the complications of clan politics. She read, which surprised him until he saw the small shelf of books she had acquired through careful trades with a peddler who traveled the back roads. In turn, Wren began to ask about his life. Liam told her about growing up on a farm near the Eastern Territories, about losing his family to fever when he was 20, about taking work as a caravan guard because he had no trade and needed to eat. He told her about the friends he had made and lost, about the roads he had traveled and the things he had seen. "You miss it?" she asked one evening as they sat outside watching the stars emerge. "Having a home." "I had a home once," Liam said. "After my family died, it was just a place. I think I have been looking for something to replace it ever since, but I never found it." Wren nodded slowly. "Home is a strange thing. You do not know what it means until you lose it." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the night sounds of the forest. Liam found himself increasingly aware of her presence beside him, the quiet strength she radiated, the way her ears twitched when she heard something interesting in the darkness. She was unlike anyone he had ever known, and he was beginning to realize that the stories he had been told about orcs were at best incomplete, at worst outright lies. 2 weeks became 3. Liam's shoulder healed well, the range of motion returning gradually under Wren's careful supervision. He made himself useful however he could, repairing loose boards on the cabin, reinforcing the garden fence against deer, helping to preserve the summer harvest for the coming winter. They worked side by side, and Liam found himself noticing details he had not let himself see before. The way Wren hummed softly when she worked, a tuneless melody that seemed to ease her mind. The strength in her hands as she kneaded bread dough or split firewood with casual ease. The rare smile that touched her lips when she discovered a particularly good patch of mushrooms, or when the garden produced an unexpectedly large squash. She was beautiful, he realized one afternoon as he watched her hanging laundry on a line strung between 2 trees. Not in spite of her green skin and tusks, but in the wholeness of who she was. The thought terrified him. He was falling in love with an orc woman and he had no idea what to do about it. If Wren noticed the way his gaze lingered on her or how he found excuses to work near her, she gave no sign. She remained cordial but distant, maintaining the invisible boundary between guest and host. It was only at night when Liam lay on his pallet and heard her moving in the loft above, that he wondered if she felt any of the confusion and longing that plagued him. Summer deepened into early autumn. The air took on a crisp edge in the mornings, and the leaves began their slow turn toward gold and crimson. Liam's shoulder had healed completely, and they both knew he could leave whenever he chose. But he stayed. "I could help you prepare for winter," he suggested one morning as they worked in the garden, pulling up the last of the carrots. "You will need more firewood than you have now, and the roof on the shed looks like it could use repair before the snows come." Wren paused in her work, dirt smudged across her cheek. "You want to stay longer?" "If you will have me," Liam said, meeting her eyes. "I have nowhere else I need to be." She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded once. The work would go faster with 2. Relief flooded through him, though he tried not to let it show too obviously. "Then I will stay." They fell into new patterns. Liam began to sleep in the loft while Wren took the main floor, a silent acknowledgement that his presence had become something more permanent than temporary guest. They worked long days preparing for winter, cutting and stacking firewood until they had enough to last through the coldest months. Liam repaired the shed roof and reinforced the doors against wind and snow. Wren preserved vegetables and smoked meat, filling the root cellar with enough food to see them through. It was hard work, but Liam found satisfaction in it that had eluded him during his years on the road. There was something deeply right about building toward a future, about working alongside someone who valued your contribution and relied on your strength. Late one afternoon, they were carrying water from the nearby stream when they heard voices on the wind. Wren froze, her hand shooting out to grip Liam's arm. They stood utterly still, listening, men's voices, rough and carrying, speaking in the coarse dialect of the borderlands. Liam counted at least 4 distinct speakers, maybe more. Wren's face had gone very still, her eyes scanning the forest. "Hunters," she whispered, "from Thornmere most likely. Will they come this way, if they are tracking game, perhaps?" She released his arm and moved with silent speed back toward the cabin. Liam followed, his heart hammering. Inside, Wren moved with practiced efficiency, banking the fire and closing the shutters. "You should go," she said quietly. "If they find you here with me, there will be questions." "I am not leaving you," Liam said firmly. "Liam, no." He caught her hand, feeling the calluses on her palm, the strength in her fingers. "We will wait them out together. If they come here, I am just a traveler who was injured and you helped me. That is true enough. They will not believe it. They will think I am holding you prisoner or worse. Then we make sure they do not find us at all." They waited in tense silence as the voices grew closer, then mercifully began to fade. The hunters were moving north, away from the cabin. After an hour had passed with no sound but wind in the trees, Wren finally relaxed. "That was too close," she said, sinking onto the bench by the table. Liam sat across from her, still holding her hand without quite realizing it. "Has this happened before?" "A few times. Usually I hear them soon enough to stay hidden until they pass." She looked down at their joined hands, and Liam saw something flicker in her eyes before she gently pulled away. "You see why I live alone, why I must live alone." "You do not have to," Liam said before he could think better of it. Wren's eyes snapped to his face. "What are you saying?" He had started this, and there was no backing away now. "I am saying that I have been here for months, that I have no desire to leave, that I think about you constantly, and I do not care that you are orc and I am human. I care that you are brave and kind and strong, that you make me laugh, that working beside you feels more like home than anywhere I have been since my family died." Wren stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You do not know what you are asking. If anyone discovered us, then we would deal with it together. They would kill us, Liam, both of us. There is no together when humans find out you have been living with an orc. They will call you corrupted, bewitched. They will call me a monster who seduced or imprisoned you." Her voice was tight with emotion. "I will not let that happen to you." "That is my choice to make," Liam said, standing to face her. "Wren, look at me." She did, and he saw the war raging behind her eyes, fear and longing, hope and despair. "I am not asking for anything you do not want to give," he said more softly. "But I need you to know how I feel. You saved me, yes, but you have given me so much more than my life. You have given me purpose, companionship, and a place where I belong. I am not leaving unless you tell me to go." "I should tell you to go," Wren whispered. "For your own safety I should send you away. But you will not." She closed her eyes. "No, I will not." Liam took a careful step forward, then another, until he stood close enough to see the faint scars on her arms, old wounds from battles long past. "Why not?" "Because I am selfish," Wren said, opening her eyes to meet his. "Because these months with you have been the happiest I have known in years. Because when I think about you leaving, I feel like I am losing my home all over again." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Liam reached up slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and cupped her face in his hands. Her skin was warm under his palms, smooth despite her strength. "Then let me stay," he said. Wren made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob, and then she was kissing him, her tusks cool against his face as her lips found his. Liam pulled her close, feeling her arms come around him with a fierceness that spoke of months of restrained longing. She was strong enough to break him, he knew, but her touch was gentle as she ran her fingers through his hair. They broke apart finally, both breathing hard, and Liam rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said simply. "I should probably have said that first." Wren laughed, the sound bright and surprised. "You are terrible at this. I know. I have never done it before." She pulled back enough to look at him properly, her amber eyes searching his face. "I love you too," she said, the words coming out fierce and defiant as if she expected the world to argue. "I have tried not to, but I do." They stood wrapped in each other as the afternoon faded into evening, speaking in quiet voices about the future they might build together. It would not be easy, they both knew. The world was not kind to those who crossed the boundaries of race and custom. But here, in this small corner of the borderlands, they could make their own rules. That night, Wren did not sleep in the main room. They lay together in the loft, tangled in furs and each other, speaking of dreams and fears until exhaustion claimed them. Liam woke once in the darkness to find Wren watching him, her expression soft in the moonlight filtering through the loft window. "I am still here," he whispered. "I know," she replied, her fingers tracing idle patterns on his chest. "I keep expecting to wake and find this was a dream. If it is, we are dreaming together." She smiled and tucked herself against him, her head resting on his shoulder. Liam held her close and let himself believe that this could last, that love could be enough to weather whatever storms came their way. Autumn deepened, and they settled into their new reality. They were careful, always aware that discovery meant danger. When Wren went to the trading post to barter for supplies, Liam stayed behind. They kept a watch when working outside, alert for any sign of travelers or hunters. But within the walls of their cabin, they let themselves simply be. Liam learned the topography of Wren's scars during those golden autumn weeks. There were more than he had first realized, white marks against her green skin that mapped a history of violence. A sword cut across her ribs from a raid gone wrong. Claw marks on her back from a border bear that had wandered too close to her clan's territory. Burned scars on her left forearm from a fire that had destroyed half her clan's encampment when she was 19. She traced them with a kind of clinical detachment at first, cataloging injuries the way a cartographer might note landmarks. But one night, as they lay wrapped together against the cooling air, Liam took her hand and pressed his lips to the burn scars. "Tell me," he said softly. Wren was quiet for a long moment. Then, haltingly at first but with growing confidence, she began to speak of her past. She told him about growing up in a clan that valued strength above all else, where weakness meant death and mercy was seen as the greatest weakness of all. She spoke of the raids she had participated in, the violence she had committed because it was expected, the slow realization that the path her people walked was leading nowhere but to more bloodshed. "I killed humans," she said, her voice flat. "In battle, in raids. I told myself it was survival, that they would kill us if we did not kill them first, and that was true mostly. But there were times." She stopped, swallowing hard. "There were times when I knew it was wrong, when I saw the fear in their eyes and knew they were no different from me. Just people trying to survive." Liam listened without judgment, his hand steady on her back. "What changed? There was a village. Small, barely defensible. The raid leader wanted to burn it, take everything of value and kill anyone who resisted. I was part of the vanguard. We went in at dawn." She closed her eyes, but Liam could see tears tracking down her cheeks. There was a child, a little girl, maybe 7 years old. She was hiding in a root cellar and I found her. She looked up at me with these huge, terrified eyes and I could not do it. I told her to stay hidden and be quiet. Then I told the raid leader there was nothing in that cellar worth taking. You saved her. I saved one child. The village still burned. People still died. But after that, I could not keep pretending I was doing the right thing. When the next raid came up, I refused. I said we should trade instead of steal, build instead of destroy. My clan said I had lost my warrior spirit. They were right, in a way. I had lost the desire to be the kind of warrior they wanted. Liam pulled her closer, feeling the tension in her body. You found a different kind of courage. It takes more strength to choose peace than war. Does it? Wren's voice was bitter. I have spent 5 years hiding in the woods, living alone because I was too weak to fit in with my own kind and too dangerous to live among yours. You are not weak, Liam said firmly, and you are not alone anymore. She turned to look at him, her eyes red but clearing. You mean that, with everything I am? Wren kissed him then, salt sweet with tears, and Liam held her until she stopped shaking. They made love slowly, tenderly, each touch a promise that the past did not have to define their future. In the morning, Liam woke to find Wren already up, standing by the window and looking out at the forest. He joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. What are you thinking? He asked. That I have never shown anyone those scars before, she said quietly. I have carried them alone for so long. It feels strange to have someone else know where they came from. You do not have to carry anything alone anymore. She turned in his arms, her hands coming up to frame his face. Show me yours, she said. Liam understood. She had bared her past, her shame and pain. Now she was asking him to do the same. He led her back to the bed and sat facing her. I do not have many physical scars, he said. But I have carried other wounds. He told her about watching his family die, about the helplessness of being unable to save them as fever ravaged through his parents and younger sister one by one. He spoke of the guilt he had carried for years, the irrational belief that he should have done more, been more, somehow prevented the inevitable. He described the emptiness that had followed, the way he had wandered from job to job and town to town, never letting himself get close to anyone because he was terrified of losing them too. That is why I ran when the caravan was attacked, he said, his voice rough. I told myself it was tactics, survival, but the truth is I was afraid. I did not want to watch more people die, so I ran and I hated myself for it. Wren took his hands in hers. You survived. There is no shame in that. I am learning to believe that, Liam said. You have taught me that survival is not cowardice. That choosing to live, choosing to love is its own kind of bravery. She pulled him close, and they held each other as morning light filled the loft. There were no more words needed. They had seen each other fully now, scars and all, and the seeing had only deepened the connection between them. The first snow came in late October, earlier than Wren had expected. They woke to a world transformed, white and silent and beautiful. Liam stood at the window marveling while Wren checked their stores and made sure the cabin was properly sealed against the cold. We have enough, she said, satisfaction in her voice. We will make it through the winter comfortably. We, Liam repeated, savoring the word. I like how that sounds. They spent that first snow day inside, tending the fire and cooking a hearty stew. Wren taught Liam to make orc bread, a dense, unleavened flatbread that kept well and filled the belly. Liam showed her a card game he had learned on the road, and they played for hours, laughing when Wren's competitive nature emerged and she refused to lose. You are cheating, Liam accused with no real heat. I am winning, Wren corrected. There is a difference. You are definitely cheating." She grinned at him, her tusks gleaming in the firelight, and Liam felt his heart turn over in his chest. He loved her fierce joy, the way she threw herself wholly into everything she did. He loved the sound of her laughter and the way she hummed while cooking. He loved waking up next to her and falling asleep in her arms. He loved her, simply and completely, and he wanted to spend the rest of his life showing her that love. Winter settled in earnestly after that first snow. They lived in a small, warm world bounded by the cabin walls, venturing out only when necessary to check snares or bring in more firewood. Liam had never been happier. The isolation that might have driven him mad in his younger years now felt like a gift, a chance to build something real and lasting away from the judgment of the wider world. But the world had a way of intruding, no matter how carefully they hid. It was a clear day in mid-December when they heard the sound of horses approaching. Wren and Liam exchanged a single glance, then moved with silent coordination. Wren grabbed her weapons, a well-made sword and a hunting bow. Liam positioned himself by the window, watching through the gap in the shutters. 3 riders came into view and Liam's stomach sank. They wore the colors of Thornmere, and from the way they moved they were militia, not hunters. "They are searching for something," Liam said quietly. "Spread out, checking the area systematically." "They have never come this far before," Wren said, her voice tight. "Something has changed." One of the riders approached the cabin, and Liam recognized him. Marcus Dane, a man he had drunk with once in a tavern 2 years ago. A hard man, suspicious of anything different but not actively cruel. The other 2 riders hung back, watching the tree line. There was a heavy knock on the door. Liam and Wren looked at each other. "Let me handle this," Liam said. "They will see me eventually," Wren replied. "We cannot hide what I am. Trust me, please." After a moment, Wren nodded and moved to the far side of the cabin, her hand resting on her sword hilt. Liam opened the door. Marcus Dane's expression shifted from professional alertness to surprise. "Liam Barrett, I will be damned. We heard there were no survivors from the caravan attack." "I barely got out," Liam said, blocking the doorway with his body. "I have been recovering here through the autumn." "What brings Thornmere militia this far out?" "Orc sightings," Marcus said bluntly. "Hunters reported seeing signs of habitation in this area. We are making sure there are no threats to the settlement." His eyes tried to peer past Liam into the dim interior. "You have been here alone all this time." "Not alone," Liam said, and felt Wren tense behind him. "The woman who owns this cabin found me and saved my life. I have been working to repay that debt." Marcus's hand drifted toward his sword. "What woman?" There was no avoiding it now. Liam stepped aside, revealing Wren standing tall in the center of the cabin, her hand still on her weapon but not drawing it. Marcus went very still. "You have been living with an orc." "I have been living with Wren Forge, who saved my life when she could have left me to die," Liam said firmly. "She is no threat to Thornmere. She has been here for 5 years, living peacefully, bothering no one." "No threat," Marcus's voice rose. "Barrett, have you lost your mind? She is orc. They are raiders, killers. She is probably the one who she is not," Liam interrupted, his voice hard. "The bandits who attacked the caravan were human, as you well know. Wren found me 3 days after the attack, nearly dead from blood loss. She tended my wounds, fed me, gave me shelter. I stayed because I chose to, not because I was forced. She has shown me nothing but kindness." The 2 other riders had moved closer, drawn by the raised voices. They stared at Wren with open hostility, hands on weapons. "Kindness," Marcus repeated flatly. "You believe an orc capable of kindness." "I know she is," Liam said, "just as I know plenty of humans capable of great cruelty." The world is not as simple as you want it to be, Marcus. Wren spoke for the first time, her voice calm despite the tension crackling in the air. I left my clan 5 years ago because I would not participate in raids against humans. I want only to live in peace. I have harmed no one from Thornmere. You are orc, Marcus said, as if that explained everything. Your kind cannot be trusted. My kind, Wren said softly, are no more uniform than yours. There are orcs who raid and kill, yes. There are also orcs who seek peace. Judge me by my actions, not my blood. One of the other riders, a younger man with a nervous energy, spoke up. We should take her in, Marcus. Let the council decide what to do. No, Liam said flatly. She has broken no laws. She lives on unclaimed land, harms no one. You have no right to take her anywhere. We have every right to protect our settlement from potential threats, Marcus argued. Then I will vouch for her, Liam said. I am a citizen of the Eastern Territories, and I stake my reputation on her character. She is no threat. Leave her in peace, and I give you my word that Thornmere will never have cause to regret it. Marcus studied him for a long moment, weighing options. Liam could see the calculations running behind the man's eyes. A fight here would be messy and might leave casualties. And Liam's word did carry some weight, enough at least to give Marcus pause. Your word, Marcus said finally. You are willing to guarantee her behavior with my life, Liam replied without hesitation. Another long pause. Then Marcus stepped back, though his hand remained near his sword. We will be watching this area. If there is any trouble, any sign of orc activity near Thornmere, we will come back. And next time, we will not leave without her. There will be no trouble, Liam said. Marcus nodded curtly and gestured to his companions. They mounted up and rode away, though all three kept looking back as if expecting an attack from behind. When the sound of hooves had faded completely, Liam closed the door and sagged against it. Wren was beside him in an instant, her hands on his shoulders. You risked everything just now, she said. I risked nothing I was not willing to lose, Liam replied. He straightened and pulled her close. Are you all right? I am unharmed. But Liam, this changes things. They know I am here now. They will be watching. Then we will be careful. We have been careful all along. Wren pulled back to look at him, her amber eyes troubled. You staked your reputation on me. If anything goes wrong, if there are any raids or trouble from my people, they will blame you. They may kill you along with me. I know, Liam said simply. I meant what I said. I trust you with my life, Wren. I love you. I'm not going to abandon you because things got complicated. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they shone with unshed tears. You are either the bravest man I have ever met or the most foolish. Probably both, Liam agreed with a shaky laugh. They held each other for a long time, taking comfort in physical closeness. But the encounter with the militia had shaken them both, a harsh reminder that their happiness existed in defiance of the world's expectations. That night, as they lay together in the loft, Wren spoke into the darkness. I have been thinking about what would happen if we had to leave. Liam turned to face her. Leave the cabin, leave the borderlands entirely. Go somewhere no one knows us, where we could simply be Wren and Liam, not orc and human. Her voice was wistful. Do you think such a place exists? I do not know, Liam admitted. But if we needed to find out, we would do it together. You would give up your homeland for me. My homeland is wherever you are, Liam said firmly. I lost my first home to fever. I will not lose my second to prejudice. Wren was quiet for a moment, then she shifted in the darkness. Liam felt her hands on him, gentle but insistent, and he pulled her close. They made love with an urgency born of fear and defiance, reaffirming their commitment to each other in the most primal way they knew. Afterward, as their breathing slowed and sleep beckoned, Wren spoke one more time. Thank you for standing with me. Always, Liam murmured, already drifting off. The winter passed slowly after that encounter. True to Marcus's word, they occasionally saw signs of militia patrols in the area. Wren and Liam were careful to maintain appearances when they went outside, working separately more often than together, keeping their relationship hidden from any watching eyes. It chafed at them both, this enforced secrecy, but they endured it because the alternative was unthinkable. In February, a heavy snowstorm trapped them inside for nearly a week. They spent the time productively, Wren teaching Liam her language in exchange for stories about the wider world he had seen in his travels. He told her about the ocean, which she had never seen, describing the endless blue water and the way it tasted of salt. She taught him the Orc words for love and home and forever, sounds that felt strange on his tongue but satisfying once he mastered them. "Say it again," she said one evening, smiling. "Thrakara," Liam said carefully, the Orc word for beloved. "Thrakara mala threksh dor. You are my beloved, my heart's home." Wren's smile widened and she corrected his pronunciation on one syllable, then kissed him when he got it right. "I never thought I would hear those words from a human," she admitted. "My clan would say I have lost all honor falling in love with you." "What do you say?" Liam asked. "I say honor is not the same thing as happiness," Wren replied, "and I choose to be happy." Spring came late that year, but when it finally arrived, it transformed the forest into a riot of green and flowers. Liam and Wren emerged from their winter isolation like bears from a den, blinking in the bright sun and marveling at the warmth. They planted the garden together, working side by side in the rich earth. Liam had learned a great deal about cultivation from Wren, and he took pride in setting the rows straight and spacing the seeds properly. They expanded the garden this year, planning for a future that included 2 mouths to feed indefinitely. It was while they were working, soil under their nails and sun on their backs, that Liam realized something had been building in him for months. A certainty, a need to formalize what they had already become. That evening, after they had washed and eaten, Liam took Wren's hand and led her outside. The stars were beginning to emerge bright and cold against the darkening sky. "What is this about?" Wren asked, amusement in her voice. Liam took a breath, suddenly nervous in a way he had not been since the first time he kissed her. "I have been thinking about what we have here, what we have built together." "Yes." Wren's amusement faded to something more serious as she sensed his mood. "Among my people, when 2 people want to commit their lives to each other, they marry. It is a promise, a public declaration that they belong together." He squeezed her hands. "We cannot have the public part, I know, but I want to make that promise to you anyway. Wren Forge, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you, working beside you, building a home with you?" Wren stared at him, her amber eyes wide with shock. For a terrible moment, Liam thought he had miscalculated, pushed too far. Then she was pulling him close, her arms tight around him. "Yes," she said, her voice thick. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They held each other under the emerging stars, and Liam felt something settle in his chest, a rightness he had not known he was missing. "I do not have a ring," he admitted. "I have nothing of value to give you." "You have given me everything that matters," Wren replied. She pulled back enough to look at him, her face radiant. "Among orcs, when 2 people choose each other, they exchange scars, a small cut on the palm pressed together so the blood mingles. It symbolizes sharing pain as well as joy, becoming part of each other's story." "I would be honored," Liam said. Wren fetched a clean knife from inside and returned to where Liam waited. In the gathering darkness, she made a small, precise cut across her left palm, then did the same to his. The pain was sharp but brief. Then she pressed their bleeding palms together, her fingers lacing through his. "I choose you," she said, her voice formal and carrying a weight that spoke of ritual. "I choose to share my life with yours, my pain with yours, my joy with yours. From this day until my last day, you are my home and my heart." "I choose you," Liam repeated, feeling the truth of the words resonate through him. "I choose to share my life with yours, my pain with yours, my joy with yours. From this day until my last day, you are my home and my heart." They stood palm to palm as the stars wheeled overhead, feeling their blood mingle, sealing the promise they had made. When Wren finally released his hand to bind both their cuts with clean cloth, Liam felt fundamentally changed. They had been partners before, lovers, friends. Now they were something more. Bound by choice and blood and love, that night they lay together in the loft, talking about the future they would build. It would not be easy, they knew. The world would not celebrate their union. But here, in their small corner of the borderlands, they could make their own traditions and live by their own rules. "Do you think we will always have to hide?" Wren asked quietly. "I do not know," Liam said honestly. "But I know that what we have is worth protecting, worth fighting for if necessary." "I have done enough fighting for one lifetime," Wren said, "but I will fight for this, for us. Then we will face whatever comes together," Liam replied. Summer arrived in full force, and with it came a new problem. Wren's trading partner, the peddler who brought her books and news from the wider world, failed to appear at the usual meeting place. A week passed, then two, with no sign of him. "Something is wrong," Wren said, pacing the cabin with uncharacteristic agitation. "Osric has never missed a meeting in 5 years. Could he be sick? Or delayed by weather?" Liam suggested, though the summer had been fair so far. "Or he could have decided that trading with an orc is too dangerous now that the militia knows I am here," Wren said bitterly. "Marcus Dane likely spread word through Thornmere. Osric may have been pressured to stop coming." Liam considered this. "We need supplies regardless. If Osric will not trade, we will have to find another way." "How? I cannot simply walk into Thornmere and purchase goods." "No," Liam agreed, "but I can." Wren stopped pacing. "That is too dangerous. If someone recognizes you, if they ask questions, I will be careful," Liam promised. "I will say I have been living as a trapper, which is true enough. I will buy what we need and leave quickly. No one needs to know I am coming back here." They argued about it for most of the day, but eventually Wren had to concede the necessity. They needed salt, needles, lamp oil, and a dozen other things that could not be foraged or made. If Osric would not bring supplies, they had to acquire them elsewhere. Liam left at dawn 3 days later, promising to return by nightfall. The walk to Thornmere took most of the morning, and he spent the time rehearsing his story. He was a trapper working the borderlands. He kept to himself, traded furs for supplies, stayed away from trouble. It was simple and believable. Thornmere was larger than he remembered, a sprawling collection of wooden buildings surrounded by a sturdy palisade. Guards at the gate gave him a cursory inspection, but waved him through without incident. Liam made his way to the general store, a squat building that smelled of leather and spices. The proprietor was a heavy-set man with sharp eyes who introduced himself as Barrett. Liam gave his name and his cover story, then began selecting supplies. Barrett seemed friendly enough, making small talk about the weather and the quality of furs this season. It was going smoothly until Marcus Dane walked into the store. The militia leader's eyes locked onto Liam immediately. "Barrett, I did not expect to see you here." "Just gathering supplies," Liam said evenly. "I have been trapping in the borderlands, doing well enough to need a resupply." "Trapping," Marcus repeated, his tone skeptical. "And where exactly have you been staying?" "I move around. That is the nature of the work." Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping so Garrett could not hear. "Tell me you have not been living with that orc woman all this time." Liam met his gaze steadily. "I have been earning my keep honestly and harming no one. That is all you need to know. If you are protecting her, I am trading for supplies so I can continue working," Liam interrupted. "That is all." "Do you intend to prevent me from doing legal business in Thornmere?" Marcus clearly wanted to say more, but with Garrett listening curiously, he could not push the issue. He stepped back with a disgusted sound. "Buy your supplies and leave, Barrett. And think carefully about who you choose to associate with. The Council is watching the borderlands more carefully now. We will not tolerate threats to our people." "Good," Liam said calmly. "Neither will I." He completed his purchases while Marcus glowered from across the store. Only when Liam had paid and gathered his packs did the militia leader leave. Shooting one last warning glance as he exited, Garrett cleared his throat. "You have made an enemy there, friend." "So it seems," Liam agreed. "Thank you for your trade." "Come back whenever you need supplies," Garrett said. "I do not care who you associate with, so long as your coin is good." Liam left Thornmere feeling tense and watchful. The encounter with Marcus had gone poorly, and he suspected there would be consequences. He pushed the pace on the walk back, eager to return to Wren and the relative safety of the cabin. He found her waiting outside, her relief visible when she saw him approaching. "You were gone so long. I was beginning to worry." "I ran into Marcus Dane in the store," Liam explained, setting down the heavy packs. "He suspects I have been living with you, though I did not confirm it. But Wren, I think he is going to make trouble." She nodded slowly, her expression grave. "Then we need to be ready." They spent the evening organizing their supplies and discussing contingencies. If the militia came in force, they would have to flee. Wren knew paths through the deep forest that few humans could follow. They could go north, toward the unclaimed mountains, or east toward the sea. It would mean abandoning the cabin, everything they had built, but their lives mattered more than possessions. "I hope it does not come to that," Liam said as they prepared for bed. "But I am glad we have a plan." "As am I," Wren replied. She pressed her scarred palm against his, the thin white line where they had cut themselves still visible. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The attack came 2 nights later. Liam woke to the sound of angry voices and the smell of smoke. He was out of bed in an instant, Wren already moving toward the loft ladder. Below, orange light flickered through the gaps in the shutters. "They are burning us out," Wren said, her voice tight with fury and fear. Liam could hear them now, at least a half-dozen men surrounding the cabin. Marcus's voice rose above the others, calling for them to surrender. "We have to go," Liam said urgently. "The root cellar. We can escape through the tunnel." Wren had shown him the escape route months ago, a tunnel that led from the root cellar to a concealed exit 50 yards into the forest. It had seemed like paranoid overcaution at the time. Now it might save their lives. They moved fast, grabbing only essential supplies. Wren took her weapons and a pack with food and water. Liam snatched the emergency bundle they had prepared and his own sword. Smoke was beginning to seep into the cabin as they dropped into the root cellar. The tunnel was narrow and dark, barely wide enough to crawl through. Wren went first, moving with practiced efficiency. Liam followed, his heart hammering. Behind them, they heard shouts as the militia broke into the cabin. They emerged into the forest as the first beams of the cabin began to collapse. Liam looked back and saw flames leaping into the night sky, consuming their home. Fury rose in him, hot and choking, but Wren pulled at his arm. "We have to move. They will search the area." They ran through the darkness, Wren leading them along paths only she knew. They ran until dawn, putting miles between themselves and the burning cabin. Only when they reached a rocky outcropping that provided both shelter and a view of their back trail did they stop to rest. Liam sank to the ground, exhausted and heartsick. Everything they had built was gone. The cabin, the garden, the life they had carefully constructed. Gone in a single night because humans could not tolerate an orc living in peace. "I am sorry," Wren said, sitting beside him. She was crying, silent tears tracking down her green cheeks. "This is my fault. You lost everything because of me." "No," Liam said fiercely, pulling her close. "This is the fault of small-minded people who fear what they do not understand. You did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong." "Where do we go now?" Wren asked. She sounded lost in a way he had never heard before, and it broke his heart. "North," Liam decided. "To the unclaimed mountains. We will find a new place, build a new home. And this time we will make sure no one finds us until we are ready to be found. You are still willing to stay with me, even after this." Liam took her face in his hands, looking directly into her amber eyes. "Wren, listen to me. I married you under the stars. I bound my blood to yours. I chose you, and that choice stands no matter what the world throws at us. I love you, and I will not leave you. Ever." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but she was smiling through them. "I love you too," she whispered. "My heart, my home." They sat together watching the sun rise over the forest, two people who had lost everything but each other. It was enough. It had to be enough. The journey north was hard. They traveled carefully, avoiding settlements and staying to the deep wilderness. Wren's knowledge of the land served them well. She knew which plants were edible, where to find water, how to read weather in the clouds and animal behavior. Liam contributed his own skills, hunting with bow and snare, navigating by the stars, keeping watch while Wren slept. They were a good team, and despite the circumstances of their flight, Liam found himself oddly content. There was something freeing about having nothing but each other. No cabin to maintain, no supplies to worry about, no threat of discovery. Just the two of them against the world. 3 weeks into their journey, they reached the foothills of the northern mountains. The land here was wild and beautiful, thick forests giving way to alpine meadows dotted with wildflowers. They found a small valley with a clear stream running through it, sheltered on 3 sides by steep hills. "Here," Wren said, looking around with satisfaction. "We can build here." They spent the summer constructing a new home. It was smaller than the cabin they had lost, little more than a sturdy shelter against the elements, but it was theirs. They worked side by side, falling timber and shaping logs, constructing a life from raw materials and determination. Autumn came, and they prepared for their second winter together. This time they were more remote, more hidden. The nearest human settlement was 40 miles away, and even that was just a small trading post. They were truly isolated now, and Liam found he did not mind at all. One evening in late September, as they sat outside watching the sun set over the mountains, Wren spoke thoughtfully. "Do you ever regret it, choosing this life?" "Never," Liam said without hesitation. "Do you?" "Not for a moment." She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "I just wonder sometimes what life would have been like if the world was different. If we could have stayed in the cabin, lived openly without fear." "Maybe someday the world will change," Liam said. "Maybe someday there will be others like us, crossing the boundaries of race and hatred, enough of them that we will not seem so strange." "That is a nice dream," Wren said softly. "Dreams have to start somewhere." They sat in comfortable silence as the stars began to appear. Liam thought about everything they had survived, all the challenges they had overcome. Prejudice, violence, loss. And through it all, their love had only grown stronger. "I have been thinking," Wren said eventually, "about children." Liam's heart skipped. They had never discussed this directly, though he had wondered. "And I do not know if it is even possible. Human and orc, there are stories, but I do not know if they are true." She turned to look at him. "But if it were possible, I think I would want that. A family with you." "I would want that too," Liam said, feeling a surge of emotion. "Whatever form our family takes, I would be honored to build it with you." Wren smiled, that rare, bright smile that transformed her face. "Then let us see what the future brings." Winter that year was harsh, but they weathered it together, secure in their hidden valley. When spring arrived, Wren began experiencing bouts of nausea in the mornings. At first they dismissed it as a passing illness, but when it persisted for weeks, understanding dawned. "I am pregnant," Wren said one morning, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. She looked terrified and elated in equal measure. Liam felt his knees go weak. "Are you certain?" "As certain as I can be without a midwife to confirm it." She met his eyes. "I did not think it was possible, but here we are." Liam crossed to her and dropped to his knees, pressing his ear to her stomach as if he could hear something. "We are going to have a baby," he said wonderingly. "We are," Wren agreed, running her fingers through his hair. "I am frightened, Liam. I do not know what to expect. Will the child be more orc or more human? Will the pregnancy be difficult? What if something goes wrong?" "Then we will handle it together," Liam said, standing to embrace her. "We have survived everything else. We will survive this too." Over the following months, they prepared as best they could. Wren's body changed, her belly swelling with their child. Liam read every scrap of information he could find about childbirth, which was precious little. They gathered supplies, made plans, and tried not to let fear overwhelm their joy. In late autumn, as the first snows began to fall, Wren went into labor. It was long and difficult, and there were moments when Liam feared he would lose her. But Wren was strong, stronger than anyone he had ever known, and when dawn broke, their daughter was born. She was perfect. Small but healthy, with skin that was a pale green-tinged cream and tiny nubs where tusks would eventually grow. She had Wren's amber eyes and Liam's nose, a perfect blending of both her parents. When she cried, it was the most beautiful sound Liam had ever heard. "What should we name her?" Wren asked, exhausted but radiant as she held their daughter. Liam thought about it. "Willow," he suggested. "Like the trees by the stream, flexible and strong, able to weather any storm." "Willow Barrett Forge," Wren said, testing the name. "Yes, that is perfect." They spent the winter in a bubble of new parenthood, learning how to care for this small life they had created. Willow was a good baby, curious and alert, and watching her grow brought them both more joy than they had imagined possible. "She is going to have questions someday," Wren said one evening as they watched Willow sleep. "About why we live here alone, why she has never seen other children." "We will answer them truthfully," Liam said. "We will tell her that the world is not always kind to those who are different, but that difference is not wrong. We will teach her to be proud of who she is, both human and orc. She will face challenges we cannot protect her from," Wren said quietly. "I know, but we will prepare her as best we can, and she will know that she is loved, absolutely and unconditionally. That will have to be enough." Years passed in their hidden valley. Willow grew into a bright, energetic child who loved exploring the forest with her parents. They taught her everything they knew. Liam showed her how to track game and navigate by the stars. Wren taught her the orc language and the stories of her people. Together, they instilled in her values of kindness, courage, and the understanding that worth is measured by character, not by race. When Willow was 5, she asked the question they had been anticipating. "Why do I look different from both of you?" They sat her down and explained, simply but honestly, about orcs and humans and prejudice. They told her how they had fallen in love despite the world's disapproval, and how she was the best thing to ever come from that love. Some people will not understand you, Wren said, stroking her daughter's dark hair. They may fear you or hate you because you are both orc and human. But you are perfect exactly as you are. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. I think being both sounds exciting, Willow declared with a child's uncomplicated acceptance. I get the best of everything. Liam and Wren exchanged a glance over her head, both thinking the same thing. If only the rest of the world could see it so simply. More years passed. Willow grew strong and capable, learning all the skills she would need to survive in a world that might not welcome her. When she was 10, she asked if they could ever visit a human town or an orc settlement. I want to see other people, she explained. I want to know what the world is like beyond our valley. It was a fair request, and one that Liam and Wren had discussed privately many times. They could not keep her isolated forever. Eventually, she would have to find her own place in the world. When you are older, Liam promised, when you are ready to face whatever you might encounter, we will take you to see the world, both the beautiful parts and the difficult ones. That promise was fulfilled on Willow's 16th birthday. They traveled together to a neutral trading post that served both human and orc merchants. It was one of the few places where the two races coexisted peacefully, united by the common language of commerce. Willow was nervous but excited, her eyes wide as she took in the bustling activity. Liam and Wren stayed close, protective but trying to give her space to experience things for herself. They saw the looks, of course. Curiosity, confusion, and occasionally hostility when people noticed Willow's mixed heritage. But they also saw acceptance. A human merchant who complimented Willow's bargaining skills. An orc woman who smiled at her in passing. Small moments of connection that suggested the world might be slowly changing. On their last day at the trading post, they encountered an older man who introduced himself as a scholar collecting stories. When he learned about their family, his eyes lit up with interest. Would you be willing to tell me your story? He asked. How you met, how you have survived, what it is like raising a child who bridges two worlds. I am documenting examples of successful integration between races. Your experience could help others. Liam and Wren looked at each other, a whole conversation passing between them in that single glance. Then Wren spoke. We will tell you our story, she said, but you must promise to tell it truly. No embellishments, no simplifications. The truth, complete with all its difficulties and joys. I promise, the scholar said solemnly. They spent hours talking with him, telling him everything. Their first meeting, the slow build of trust and love, the prejudice they had faced, the home they had lost and rebuilt. They spoke of fear and courage, of choosing each other despite the cost, of finding happiness in defiance of the world's expectations. When they finished, the scholar was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Thank you. This is exactly the kind of story people need to hear. Perhaps it will help others find the courage to build bridges instead of walls." "We can only hope," Liam said. As they prepared to return to their valley, Willow spoke up. "I am glad you told your story. People should know that love is possible, even when the world says it is not." Wren pulled her daughter into a hug. "You are wise beyond your years." "I learned from the best," Willow replied, grinning. They returned to their valley, to the life they had built with such care. But something had shifted. They had stepped out of hiding, if only for a moment, and the world had not ended. Perhaps that was a sign. 2 years later, when Willow announced she wanted to travel and see more of the world, Liam and Wren gave their blessing. It was hard to let her go, but they knew she needed to find her own path. "Be careful," Wren said as they prepared Willow for her journey. "Trust your instincts. Remember everything we taught you. And remember that you always have a home here," Liam added. "No matter where you go or what you experience, you can always come back to us." "I know," Willow said, hugging them both fiercely. "I love you, both of you. Thank you for being brave enough to choose each other. Thank you for bringing me into the world." They watched her walk away into the forest, their remarkable daughter who carried the blood of two peoples and the hope of a better future. When she disappeared from view, Wren turned to Liam with tears in her eyes. "She is going to do great things," Liam said, pulling his wife close. "I know," Wren replied, "but I will worry anyway. That is what parents do." They walked back to their cabin, older now but no less devoted to each other. They had spent more than 20 years together, building a life in defiance of prejudice and hate. They had raised a daughter who would carry their legacy forward. They had, against all odds, found happiness. That evening, as they sat watching the sunset, Wren took Liam's hand and pressed their scarred palms together, the ritual they had repeated countless times over the years. "Thank you," she said softly, "for seeing me, all of me, scars and strength past and present, for choosing me every day." "Thank you for letting me see you," Liam replied, "for trusting me with your heart, for building this life with me." They sat together as the stars emerged, two people who had overcome every obstacle to be together. Their story was not perfect. They had faced loss and fear, prejudice and violence. But they had faced it together, and that had made all the difference in the end. Love had been enough. Not because it solved all problems or erased all difficulties, but because it gave them a reason to keep fighting, keep building, keep choosing each other day after day, year after year. As darkness fell over their valley, Liam thought about the journey that had led him here. He had been a dying man in a forest, saved by an orc woman who chose mercy over indifference. That simple act of compassion had changed everything. "I love you," he said, the words as true now as they had been the first time he spoke them. "I love you too," Wren replied, her head resting on his shoulder. "My heart, my home, my forever." They sat under the stars, content in the knowledge that they had built something beautiful together. A life, a love, a legacy. It was more than enough, it was everything.